Haunted Windmills, 3 Creepy Legends. Welcome to our channel where the shadows whisper and the darkness speaks. I'm Sam, and I'm here to guide you through the unsettling world of the paranormal, the unexplained, and the downright terrifying. We're talking about windmills, those seemingly innocent giants, but don't let their creaking blades fool you. Get ready to explore 3 creepy legends from haunted windmills, tales that will chill you to the bone.
Our first tale takes us deep into the English countryside, to a weather-beaten windmill perched atop a lonely hill. Locals call it Whitman's Mill, and for years it's been avoided like the plague. You see, Whitman's Mill is more than just a collection of wood and stone. It's a crypt, a prison, for a soul trapped between this world and the next. The legend speaks of a miller, a man named Silas, who once worked within the mill's shadow. Silas was a hard-working man, respected by the townsfolk, his life as simple as the grain he ground. But fate, it seems, had a cruel twist in store. One harvest season, a terrible crime shook the community. A robbery, and worse, a murder. Fingers were pointed, accusations flew, and Silas, the quiet miller, found himself at the center of the maelstrom. Despite his pleas of innocence, the evidence, circumstantial as it was, painted a damning picture. Fear and suspicion had poisoned the hearts of the townsfolk, and Silas, declared guilty without a fair trial, was sentenced to hang. They say on the day of his execution, Silas, his eyes burning with the injustice of it all, cursed the windmill, cursed the townsfolk, swore he would have his revenge. And so, they strung him up, the rope snapping his neck, his body left to swing in the wind as a grim warning. But Silas's story didn't end there. Soon after, strange things began to happen around Whitman's Mill. People claimed to hear the mournful grinding of gears when no wind blew, the spectral whirring of blades turning on their own. Then there were the sightings. A shadowy figure, tall and gaunt, his face obscured by a wide-brimmed hat, pacing the top platform of the windmill, his eyes, they say, glowing with an eerie light. Some whispered of disembodied screams echoing from within the mill, the anguished cries of a man unjustly accused. Travelers passing by at night claimed to see Silas's ghostly form, swinging from the windmill sails, his silhouette a terrifying spectre against the moonlit sky. One particularly chilling account tells of a group of young men, skeptical and foolhardy, who decided to spend the night in the mill, eager to debunk the legends. They laughed off the stories, dismissing them as old wives' tales. Night fell, and as the wind howled around the mill, they settled in, their bravado slowly giving way to unease. Then it began. A slow, rhythmic thumping, like footsteps pacing the floor above. The sound of chains dragging across wood. The temperature plummeted, and a bone-chilling cold seeped into their bones. Terror, raw and primal, gripped their hearts as the footsteps grew closer, the dragging chains louder, the air thick with the feeling of unseen eyes watching their every move. Suddenly, the door creaked open, and there, bathed in the pale moonlight, stood a figure. Tall, gaunt, with a face shrouded in shadow, his eyes burned with a cold, ethereal light. The men, paralyzed by fear, could only watch as the figure approached, his hand outstretched, his touch promising unimaginable pain and suffering. They scrambled, desperate to escape, but the door slammed shut, trapping them inside the mill with the vengeful spirit of Silas. The next morning, the mill stood silent, the wind whispering through its broken blades.
Our next tale takes us to the windswept plains of the American Midwest, where the land stretches as far as the eye can see, and the silence is broken only by the mournful cry of the wind. It's here, in this desolate landscape, that we find the legend of the Phantom Windmill, a tale whispered around campfires and passed down through generations of farmers and ranchers. They say this isn't your typical stationary windmill. No, this one is different. It appears and disappears at will, a ghostly apparition that haunts the lonely stretches of highway and the empty fields. Some say it's a beacon from another realm, a portal to a place where the veil between our world and the next is thin. Imagine, if you will, driving down a deserted highway late at night. The only sound is the hum of your engine and the occasional cry of a coyote in the distance. You glance out the window, and there, rising from the plains like a spectre, is a windmill. It wasn't there a moment ago, but now it stands tall and imposing, its blades turning slowly in the moonlight. You rub your eyes, thinking your mind is playing tricks on you. But when you look back, it's still there. You slow down, your curiosity battling with a growing sense of unease. As you get closer, you notice something strange about the windmill. It seems to shimmer and waver in the moonlight, as if it's not quite solid. And then you see them, figures dancing around the base of the windmill. They're dressed in clothes from another era, their movements joyful and carefree. You stop the car, mesmerized by the sight. You step out, drawn to the ghostly spectacle, a sense of wonder washing over you. The figures continue their dance, oblivious to your presence, their laughter echoing through the night, but it's not a happy sound. It's high-pitched, unsettling, like the sound of children laughing in a graveyard. You take a step closer, wanting a better look, and that's when the figures stop dancing and turn to face you. Their faces, illuminated by the pale moonlight, are skeletal, their eyes hollow sockets, their mouths stretched into grotesque grins. You stumble back in horror, your heart pounding in your chest. The figures begin to float towards you, their movements no longer joyful, but menacing, their laughter replaced by a low, guttural growl. You scramble back to your car, fumbling for the keys, your blood turning to ice. As you drive away, you steal one last glance in your rearview mirror. The figures are gone, and the windmill is fading fast, its form flickering like a dying flame.
Chapter 3. The Cursed Blades. Our final tale takes us to the sun-baked plains of Spain, where ancient olive groves meet vast fields of sunflowers. It's here, in the shadow of a crumbling monastery, that we find the legend of the Cursed Blades, a windmill shrouded in darkness and whispered about with a mixture of fear and superstition. The windmill itself is imposing, its once white walls now stained with the passage of time, its sails creaking ominously in the wind. But it's the blades, those massive wooden arms that slice through the air, that are the source of the curse, a curse so potent, so insidious, that it's said to have seeped into the very wood itself. Legend has it that the windmill was built centuries ago by a coven of witches, women feared and ostracized by the local villagers. They say these women practiced dark magic, their rituals fueled by the blood of the innocent and the whispers of demons. The villagers, their hearts filled with fear and hatred, accused the witches of blighting their crops, summoning storms, and even stealing their children. They stormed the windmill, torches held high, their faces twisted in a frenzy of righteous anger. They dragged the women out, their pleas for mercy falling on deaf ears, and condemned them to burn at the stake. As the flames consumed their bodies, the witches cursed the windmill, their rage and hatred seeping into the very fabric of the structure. But their curse, it seemed, focused on the blades, those wooden arms that had harnessed the wind to grind their grain. They cursed them with a terrible power, a power that would bring misfortune and death to anyone foolish enough to touch them. Years passed, and the windmill, once a symbol of prosperity, stood silent, a grim reminder of the witches' wrath. Villagers avoided it, their whispers carrying the legend of the cursed blades. Stories began to circulate. A farmer, desperate for a good harvest, climbed the windmill to repair the sails, only to fall to his death, his body mangled beyond recognition. A young boy, daring his friends to touch the blades, suffered a high fever, his skin erupting in painful boils, his screams echoing through the night. Even today, locals give the windmill a wide berth, their eyes darting nervously towards the blades as they hurry past.
Thank you for joining me, in the darkness, to explore these eerie legends of haunted windmills. Remember, these are just stories, legends passed down through generations. If you enjoyed these spine-chilling tales, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, Subscribe to our channel for more journeys into the shadows and hit that notification bell so you never miss a terrifying tale. Until next time, sleep tight. And if you hear the wind howling outside your window, keep your lights on.